Why do they come back? After choosing to leave, why does an ex suddenly reappear when you're finally learning how to breathe without them? When the nights are still heavy, but no longer unbearable? When the ache has softened into silence, have you ever stared at a message from your ex and felt everything at once? Hope, fear, anger, warmth, confusion, all colliding in your chest. You don't know whether to smile or protect yourself. You don't know whether this is love knocking again or just an old wound reopening quietly. And the hardest part, you are just beginning to heal. So why now? Why do exes come back? And what is really happening inside their mind when they do? Before we go any further, let's make one thing very clear. This conversation is not about blaming you, and it's not about villainizing your ex either. Relationships end for many reasons: fear, confusion, timing, emotional immaturity, unresolved wounds. Most people don't leave because they are cruel. They leave because they are overwhelmed, avoidant, scared, or disconnected from themselves. So if your ex came back, it doesn't mean you failed to move on, and it doesn't mean you are too available or too emotional. It means you are human. And so are they. Today, we're going to talk about this topic gently, through psychology, not manipulation, through understanding, not fantasy. Because when you understand why an ex comes back, you stop asking the most painful question: what does this mean about me? And instead, you gain something far more powerful. Clarity. One of the biggest misunderstandings about breakups is believing that the moment someone leaves, their emotional connection disappears. That's not how the human brain works. When you share closeness, routine, vulnerability, and emotional safety with someone, your nervous system records them as familiar, as safe, as known. Even if the relationship had problems, the brain still associates that person with comfort and identity. So when your ex left, something important happened. They experienced relief first. Relief from conflict. Relief from responsibility. Relief from emotional intensity. And the brain interprets this relief as, I made the right decision. But relief is not healing. It's temporary silence after emotional overload. As time passes, the nervous system settles. The noise fades, and then something unexpected begins to surface. Absence. The absence of familiarity. The absence of emotional regulation that came from being with you. The absence of someone who once felt like home. This is often the first psychological door that opens. When an ex begins thinking about coming back, many people don't leave because they don't care. They leave because intimacy activates their deepest fears. Closeness demands vulnerability. Consistency demands emotional responsibility. And love demands presence. For people with avoidant attachment patterns, this feels overwhelming, so they leave. Not because they don't feel love, but because love feels unsafe. However, when distance replaces closeness, a different fear awakens. Fear of loss. Loss is quiet, but it's powerful. It doesn't attack loudly. It whispers at night. What if I made a mistake? What if I lost someone who truly understood me? What if I never find that connection again? This internal conflict between fear of intimacy and fear of loss creates emotional confusion. And often, the fear of loss grows louder with time. That's when an ex reaches out, not always because they're healed, but because their internal balance has shifted. There is a reason your ex thinks about you when life becomes heavy. Emotional familiarity works like a psychological anchor. It grounds the nervous system. When your ex enters new situations, new people, new routines, new emotional environments, their brain starts comparing. Not always consciously, but emotionally. And here's the part many people don't like to hear. They often miss how you made them feel. Not the full responsibility of being with you. They miss being understood without explaining. They miss the emotional safety. They miss being accepted in their unfiltered state. This doesn't automatically mean manipulation. It means humans crave what feels emotionally known. So when stress appears, loneliness creeps in, or life doesn't unfold as expected, the brain reaches backward, toward what once felt regulating, toward you. Many people leave relationships with a fantasy. They imagine freedom, ease, emotional lightness, a better connection waiting somewhere else. Sometimes that happens, but often, reality is quieter. Dating feels exhausting. Surface-level conversations feel empty. The emotional depth they once had feels rare. And slowly, comparison begins. Not comparison of arguments or conflicts, but comparison of emotional resonance. This doesn't mean the relationship was perfect. It means it was meaningful. When expectations collapse, regret enters the conversation. Regret doesn't always mean I want to build something healthy now. Sometimes it simply means I didn't realize what I had until it was gone. That realization is uncomfortable, and reaching out feels like relief from that discomfort. Some relationships don't end cleanly. There's no emotional closure, no real understanding, no sense of completion. Psychologically, this creates what we call an unfinished emotional loop. The brain hates open endings. It seeks resolution. So your ex may come back not to restart the relationship, but to soothe their own unresolved feelings, to confirm they were loved, to reduce guilt, to feel chosen again. This is why some exes disappear right after reconnecting. The moment their internal discomfort is relieved, the motivation fades. This is not because you weren't enough. It's because closure was their goal, not commitment. This is one of the most important truths to understand. An ex returning does not automatically mean they've healed. They've changed, they're ready to show up differently sometimes. They return with the same emotional patterns, just dressed in nostalgia and longing, without self-awareness. Old dynamics repeat. That's why understanding why they came back is more important than the fact that they did. Love without emotional growth feels intense, but becomes painful again. This is one of the most important truths to understand. An ex returning does not automatically mean they've healed, they've changed, they're ready to show up differently sometimes. They return with the same emotional patterns, just dressed in nostalgia and longing. That's why understanding why they came back is more important than the fact that they did. Love without emotional growth feels intense, but becomes painful again. If someone returns from your past, it doesn't mean your healing was fake. It means life is offering you a moment of clarity. A moment to ask, does this align with who I am becoming? Not every return is meant to be a reunion. Some are meant to be a release, with understanding instead of bitterness. You don't need to rush. You don't need to prove anything. Your peace matters more than familiarity. Andrea Lau, the kind that stays, doesn't arrive through confusion. It arrives through emotional safety. If you find comfort in calm explanations, emotional clarity, and psychology that helps you heal without losing yourself, subscribe for gentle psychology insights that speak to the heart, not the fear. You deserve understanding, not emotional chaos.